Okay, so we are live and I'm speaking to Jane. Hello, Jane. How are you?
Hello, Petra. I'm Jane Wiltshire, and 4 years ago, I decided to do something about the crisis in rhino poaching. I'd always grown up with rhinos, growing up in Zululand, and so I took my skills as a scientist and as a business person and started researching into what was the solution to the rhino poaching crisis. And as a result of that, 4 years studying, mainly academic study, I came to the conclusion that the rhino horn trade exists. The choice is actually, do we want a legal trade or an illegal trade where all the proceeds go to the crops, to the poachers and to the crime syndicates? Or do we want a legal trade where that money goes to the rhino custodians? And quite frankly, it is a tremendous waste that quite often at least one, and quite often two, rhinos are killed for one horn because of a pregnant cow or a cow with calf foot is killed. Then two rhinos die, whereas rhinos produce 5 to 8 horns in their lifetime. Now, not all of us want to go and see a rhino with a cropped horn, but a few of them could shield, each one of those could shield between 5 to 8 living rhino. And if you consider that we have the horns of about 6,000 long dead rhino in storage, costing us money to ensure, preserve, secure, those 6,000 horns could shield 6,000 living rhinos and give them the opportunity to do what they do best, and that's breed up.
Yeah. So Jane, you mentioned that you were quite anti the trade when you started out. Tell me about your journey. Tell me about how you saw the logical part of it and how you saw that this could actually pro. When did you change your mind? When did you go from anti-trade to pro-trade?
Okay, so the anti-trade was really a gut reaction, which I think every one of us who loves rhinos has. You see those terrible pictures of hacked rhino faces where they've hacked off the horn, and you just get so mad. The first thing that started convincing me that this was not, that maybe that was a simplistic view, was when I realized that a horn is not part of a rhino skeleton. It can be removed quite safely and painlessly, almost akin to cutting your nails. They do sedate the rhinos, but it can be removed without chopping half of its face away. And it grows back if it's properly removed in 3 to 4 years. You don't even know that its rhino was cropped, that its horn was cropped. So that was the first major thing that came into my mind. And then looking at the whole thing, my son said to me, you know, Mom, this is not a crisis of conservation. We've done a very good job of conserving these rhinos. You know, South Africa is looked on as a killing field of rhinos, but actually we were the ones that took them from a small nucleus and bred them up so well. So it's not a crisis of conservation. It's a crisis of a market that is not being supplied. And it took I'm going through very quickly here, Petro, because of course all of us don't want to change our minds. So I'm taking you through the journey. It took me months, and it did open my eyes to looking at other things. And I've studied such things as piracy, the Somali pirates, the prohibition on alcohol in the United States, the prohibition on marijuana, the unbanning of crocodile skins, the unbanning of the tuna fur. So I've always had an interest in the economics of crime, and I looked at it from that point of view. And the more and more I looked at it, conservation is chronically short of money. At the moment, quite a lot of money is being raised from donors, but there is donor fatigue, and there is a huge amount of leakage of that donor money. The cost of raising it, the cost of administering it means that quite a lot of the money raised from well-meaning people does not get to where it should be. So you need something that is sustainable.
Yes, you do need that. And really and there are a lot of organizations who aren't legit. They're not ethical, and I've heard about this. And you would think it's such a great organization, but yet they just see the opportunity to make a profit. So it really is about getting into the right organization and supporting the right one. Yeah.
Yes. It's costly to raise money. I'm not pointing fingers at anyone, but I'm just saying that we have got all these horns here. They could, depending on how you work out what exactly we would get for it, you could get $1 billion for this stockpile. And if you sold these horns regularly and reliably, then you could most probably give the SANParks, South African National Parks, and Isambello, the KwaZulu-Natal Parks Board as it was, you could most probably treble or quadruple their budgets. And that would mean that money would come not just for rhinos, but for all those other little things like dung beetles and the less glamorous things that we just don't even think about.
I met someone very interesting over the weekend. She's quite a warrior, Jamie Joseph. I'm not sure if you know about her. She's got an organization called savingthewild.com. She's on the front line, actually putting her life at risk, taking on the Gwala kingpin, the Gwala Rhino kingpin, who's responsible for 80% of the trade from that region. And I was fortunate to meet her, and obviously I had no idea who she was, So she's in the field, she works with the rhinos, and then she's also reports back. She's got a blog and she's got a website, and she reports back on what's happening with the trial. And the trial is going live on 19 September. So I believe that everybody is doing their bit, and with all these different people really need to educate themselves and become aware of what efforts are being put in place.
What is her website, Petra?
It's savingthewild.com. Saving the Wild. So she is doing her bit on, taking on the kingpin and also taking on the government to ensure that whatever laws are put in place, that gets action. Then you have you guys who's pro the legalization of the horn trade, and people say to me, Petra, are you pro? And I go, well, I'm not pro it, I'm also not anti it, but if it is saving lives and if it is protecting lives, then that's definitely something worth looking at. And you asked me before this, you asked me what my interest is and why I'm doing this for cocktails, Jane, and there were two people standing raising funds on the corner outside a shop, raising funds for the rhinos. And I just saw people walking past them, and nobody put money in, and everybody just walked past them. And I kept, I mean, this went on for like an hour and a half, right? So eventually, I mean, we also didn't give any money. There must be a simpler way, you know, than begging than people standing on the street corners begging to save our wildlife. It's a beautiful thing to listen to everybody, even the ones who are very fear-based and the ones who've done their research. It's a beautiful thing to see how everybody is doing their bit. But apparently, with all the hope on the legalization of the rhino horn trade for South Africa and Namibia, apparently South Africa and Namibia has not, the government hasn't really taken part in making this happen for the rhino wildlife farmers. Can you share a little bit of light about that?
Okay. Perhaps at this stage I should just mention that I am project manager now of Rhino Alive. We have a website, www.rhinoalive.com, Rhino Alive, one word. We have a Facebook page, and we have another Facebook page called Let's Talk Rhino, which is actually run by a much younger woman who brings a new slant to it. But getting back to South Africa, South Africa had a committee of inquiry, which took forever. 22 people on the inquiry, very exhaustive. And they looked at the various trade proposals, right from free for all to complete ban. They looked at 4 of them. They were asked to look at the strengths and weaknesses of each of those 4. Not to make any, they were specifically told not to make any recommendation. However, it was quite clear that a regular, reliable, regulated legal trade had by far the greatest strengths. However, and this is speculation, I think that the South African government, because it had taken so long, because there was turbulence within the ruling party, just did not feel they had the time to do the big, thick, major application that one would like to do. And they therefore, they've not turned it down, but they decided not to put it forward for the COP17 later this month. I am very pleased that Swaziland did put forward a proposal. It was a 2.5-page proposal, and I have high hopes that what it is going to do is going to bring a lot more serious debate and robust, good debate, where facts and figures and other experiments, I'm sure you've read the book Freakonomics, where they take other experiments and looked at what it does to this particular thing. So I'm hoping that all those things will come into play. I am going to be at CITES. Unfortunately, there's quite a large impression that the only people that are pro-trade are those that are white, greedy farmers, already wealthy, who want to make a lot of money. However, I've been doing a large amount of work with conservators, people who have given their whole lives. Very strongly on video that there must be a trade. And there are a large number of us in the Rhino Alive team or community who have given our time pro bono virtually, who don't own a single rhino. So this isn't a view of just those people who are wanting to make a quick buck. In fact, to be a rhino owner is a way to lose money because your costs of security are enormous.
Yes, I'd like to also share my point of view. I have met people who don't have anything to do with rhinos, and they are pro the legalization of the rhino horn trade to see if it will work to protect lives. So I know that there are a lot of people from all over the world, people in the past few months, that do have, a stance in saying that yes, let's try it, and if it doesn't work, we can always go, okay, it hasn't worked. We shouldn't be doing this. Let's try something else. That's what it's about, right? Is trying something else until something works, until we get through to the end consumer, to the poachers, which is obviously a very difficult task. Yeah.
Petra, it won't be a silver bullet. There won't be one day it's legalized and there'll be no poaching. It will be a gradual process. If you have a look at what happened with clay crocodiles, it'll be a gradual process. But it is the one legal thing that has not been tried. And let's face it, the ban has been in place for 39 years and it has not worked. So you actually need to look at something else.
Yeah, you have to look at something else. Look at something and looking at something new, and that's also why why I started Earth Alive 365 was to see what else we can do, bringing in various communities who would not normally speak about and know about the rhino horn trade. I mean, I spoke to so many people who have no idea what's going on. They have no idea about the CITES meeting. They have no idea about the effort that goes into conserving animals. They have no idea about even the lion bone trade, even though the lion bone trade has been going on for years. Years. So yes, it's definitely something to look at, Jane. And I would love to, have another interview with you after the CITES meeting to see what was discussed and see where you are at, and just hear from what has come up for people. It's an incredible event, I think, and such important decisions to make for conservation that happens at CITES, and yes, and I what can I say?
I would love to do that, Petra, and we are going to have a comments board at CITES, and so at the end of CITES, I should have a large number of comments of a lot of interested people. So I'd love to share that.
That's amazing. So Jen, is there anything that you would like to say to the end consumer? Because you never know with YouTube, you never know where videos end up and who's watching. And I know that there are a lot of educated people out there about the rhino horn, and there's also a lot of people that aren't really educated. Like they think that these rhinos are farmed and that's where they get the products from. And so it's totally okay to use the products, but they don't really know how or what the process is in getting the rhino horn and the products into what they're consuming. So is there anything that you would like to say to the end consumer?
Yes, there is. I would like to say to them, lobby your government to ask for legalization of trade, because at the moment, every bit of horn that you get is there because a rhino has died. So lobby them so that we can have legalized trade, and those horns from natural mortality, those horns from the few that will be harvested, those can all go to you, and you can then use it if you want to with a clear conscience.
Jane, thank you so much. Thank you so much for all the effort that's been put in place, and also with I know that you work with so many organizations who are out there protecting lives and making sure that whatever they do, it's being done in an ethical way, and also in a way that that's pro rhino and pro the continuation of a species. I'd like to thank you so much for joining me, and I'm sure that I'll be speaking to you again real soon.
Petra, what you're doing is awesome. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.